In 1957, police descended upon an isolated farmhouse in Plainfield, Wisconsin, while following up on a lead regarding a missing local woman. Inside this house, not only did they find the missing woman strung up and slaughtered like a deer, but they also discovered a veritable chamber of horrors, including human bones, bowls made from human skulls, and everyday items crafted from the most taboo material of all, human flesh. This was the home of Ed Gein, murderer, grave robber, cannibal, and ultimate mama's boy. Gein was a local farmhand, a quiet and reserved gentleman who most locals didn't glance twice at. But by night, Gein would stalk cemeteries around Plainfield, desecrating graves, exhuming corpses, and fashioning their flesh and bones into ornaments and furniture. Since his crimes captured public imagination, Gein's story has been well documented. However, some of the more obscure but equally fascinating trivia has taken a backseat to the more sensational components of the story. So, in this video, we're looking at 10 obscure facts about Ed Gein you might not find anywhere else. Number 1. There is a unique, lost Ed Gein documentary. There's been no shortage of documentaries that have tackled the Gein case, but one particular project from renowned filmmaker Errol Morris would have dissected the story from a completely new angle. That is, from the mouth of Ed Gein himself. In 1977, Morris traveled to Plainfield, Wisconsin, the location of Gein's crimes, and spent over a year living amongst the local community. Not only did Morris interview the people closest to Gein, but he also spent time in Mendota State Psychiatric Hospital with the ghoul of Plainfield himself, amassing to what amounted to 3 hours of conversation about his life and crimes. This would have been a unique piece of true crime history, as only one very short recording of Gein's voice exists at all.
It's okay, better not.
Sadly, Morris abandoned the project for unknown reasons, and no footage of this fascinating documentary has ever seen the light of day. Number 2. He inspired a real-life copycat killer. It's no secret that Ed Gein inspired iconic horror villains, Leatherface, Buffalo Bill, and Norman Bates. But not many people know that Gein's grisly endeavors motivated a real-life copycat. After being arrested in 1957, Gein was first locked up in Central State Hospital for the criminally insane before being transferred elsewhere. In 1979, while Gein was serving time, 86-year-old Helen Lowe's was discovered bludgeoned to death in her bedroom in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, around 100 miles away from where Gein committed his own crimes. Lowe's eyes had been gouged out of her skull, and her face showed lacerations that suggested her killer had tried to remove her skin. Former mental patient Purvis Smith was eventually arrested for bizarre murder, and upon his arrest, told police that his desire to peel off a woman's face stemmed from conversations he had with an old friend in Central State Hospital. That friend was Ed Gein. Number 3. He may have killed his brother. In 1944, Ed Gein's brother, Henry Gein, died under mysterious circumstances. The Gein brothers had started a brush fire to burn away marsh vegetation, but the fire quickly spread out of control. Ed then lost sight of his brother and so called the police to help. But when police arrived, the fire had been extinguished, and strangely, Ed was able to lead the investigators straight to Henry's dead body. There were no burn marks on Henry's corpse, but he did have countless bruises on his head that were consistent with blunt force trauma. Investigators noted asphyxiation as Henry's official cause of death, but years later, when Ed's horrific crimes became known, locals began to suspect that Ed might have been responsible for Henry's death and used the fire as a ruse. While the MO didn't match up to Gein's later crimes, the two brothers could have been engaged in a sibling rivalry that was never made public knowledge.
If you're enjoying our content and want to see 2 new videos a week, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and letting us know in the comments what you want our next video to feature.
Number 4. He was a trusted babysitter. Ed Gein certainly earned his reputation as a real-life horror fiend. But before details of his ghoulish crimes came to light, Gein wasn't only a reputable farmhand around Plainfield, but was also entrusted with the care of local children. When Gein's father passed away in 1940, it fell on Gein to support his mother financially. He took odd jobs around town, mostly manual labor, But Ed's most surprising gig was his stint as a regular babysitter. Given Ed's unhealthy relationship with his mother, it made sense that he related more to children than adults. Not only did he perform magic tricks to keep them entertained, but Ed would also fascinate the children with creepy stories of cannibals and headhunters, some of which may have been inspired by his own moonlight activities. Number 5. He may have killed 2 minors. May 1947 saw the disappearance of 8-year-old Georgia Weckler, a local of Jefferson County, Wisconsin. That day, her neighbor dropped her off at the bottom of a lane leading to her house, where she reportedly went to collect mail and pick flowers. She was never seen again. Some people reported seeing a Ford sedan, the same model as Gein's car, lurking in the area at the time. But Gein was never officially linked with her disappearance. To this day, Georgia's body has never been found. Again, in October 1953, 15-year-old Evelyn Hartley vanished while babysitting the baby daughter of a family friend. When the child's parents returned home, they found bloodstains leading away from the house, and the interior was ravaged and chaotic, as though a fight had taken place. Police concluded that Evelyn had been dragged from the house into a waiting vehicle, as Gein had done with his own 2 victims, and was never seen again. However, Gein was officially ruled out as a suspect. Number 6. He sealed off his mother's room. When police discovered Ed Gein's private playground of horrors, they found almost every room in complete chaos. Gein was something of an obsessive hoarder, and his home was packed wall to wall with boxes, junk, old newspapers, and of course, the mutilated remains of 9 corpses. However, 2 rooms in the house didn't suffer the same fate. After Gein's mother died in 1947, Ed sealed off the places she spent the most time in, the sitting room and her bedroom. Gein used them as a shrine to her memory, and when the police finally opened the doors to these rooms in 1957, they were the first people to step inside them in 10 years. Number 7. His shrunken heads were real. Gein would often invite local teens over to his farmhouse and entertain them with grisly stories of cannibals, Nazis, and African headhunters. One teen who regularly visited Gein's place told police that Gein was in possession of legitimate shrunken heads that had been sent to him by a cousin who'd served in the Philippines during World War II. Upon inspection, police discovered that Gein was only half lying. The shrunken heads were not relics from a war-torn country, but were in fact real human faces that he peeled off corpses he'd exhumed from local graves. Number 8. Some pieces of Ed Gein's life still exist. Shortly after his arrest in 1957, Gein's flesh creations were all destroyed and any valuable possessions of his were auctioned off. Likewise, the following year in 1958, Gein's farmhouse mysteriously burned to the ground, with most people suspecting arson to prevent the home from becoming a morbid tourist attraction. However, even nearly 70 years on, some pieces that were personally handled by Gein remain in private collections around the world. During his incarceration, Gein had several close pen pals, and the letters he sent to them still exist, although they're exceptionally rare. Additionally, Gein also passed on his most prized possession to one of his pen pals, a crucifix that belonged to his mother. This picture shows the beloved item along with the note saying, "Inside this envelope is something that I would like Jeff to have. It was my mother's, and I feel it might help him during the Christmas holiday. Please take care of each other. Your friend, Edward Gein." And the last item of Ed's to surface was a cauldron that was put up for auction in 2015. The owner of the cauldron claimed his family purchased it in 1958 when Gein's possessions were sold off and had been sitting in storage ever since. A friend of the family who had originally helped clean the house prior to the original auction claimed that he had seen human remains from one of Gein's victims in this cauldron. Number 9. Gein's car became a sideshow attraction. No possession of Gein's was more coveted than his 1949 Ford sedan, and no one wanted it more than sideshow promoter Bunny Gibbons. Gibbons purchased the car for the equivalent of around $8,000 today, but he had no intention of driving it. Instead, Gibbons turned the vehicle into a carnival attraction and paraded it around county fairs, charging people 25 cents to glimpse the ghoul car that hauled the dead from their graves. Complete with mannequins to play the parts of Ed and his victims, the sideshow attraction drew considerable controversy and was shut down only weeks later. Gibbons then vanished into obscurity, taking the car along with him. Gein's corpse hauler was never seen again. Number 10. He died a virgin. Gein's psychological issues were rooted in the intense, unhealthy relationship he shared with his mother. She was a deeply religious woman who forced her puritanical values onto her children, including her strict teachings of sexual repression and her abhorrence of the female body. Therefore, it was no surprise that Gein had a twisted outlook on sex, love, and relationships. The term necrophilia often gets lumped in alongside Gein's cocktail of crimes. However, Gein was quick to dispute any claims of sexually violating the bodies he exhumed. He confessed to trying on occasion, but couldn't go through with the act because the bodies smelled too bad. As a child, Gein's mother once doused his genitals in boiling water and made him promise to remain a virgin until the time came to create a family. Gein never did procreate, and we know that his mother was his only real love. So it was likely that Gein remained a virgin his entire life. That concludes our list of 10 obscure facts about Ed Gein. Did we miss any little-known trivia pieces about the Butcher of Plainfield? Let us know in the comments.